What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Actuali Podcast. This is Meaning Making 101, where we try to make sense of this world together. Today, we are going to look at the rise of socialism in America, of all places. With the help of Karolyn Borysenko, she actually got herself into a Zoom call with Socialists of America, talking about how they want to overthrow the U.S. government. It's wild. Very excited to share with you guys. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on.
Commence with the commie bashing.
Indeed. Let's go.
I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first speaker of the night, Satya, who's a nurse and a P.S.L. organizer based in Atlanta.
A foundational step in the socialist reconstruction of society would be the creation of a new constitution. The current U.S. Constitution was drafted by the U.S. slave-owning class, and it enshrines the rights of capital. But the new constitution would enshrine and expand the rights of the working class. And millions of people will participate in constitutional conventions or popular constituent assemblies to draft and adopt this new constitution.
She put up a note that says they want to abolish the Constitution because it upholds capitalism. Let's go on.
Unleashing a creative and collective process, which is far more democratic and participatory than our current system. Those of us who were long denied a voice in the political system would shape the new constitution. And the U.S. Constitution leaves fundamental matters such as food, health, education, housing to the capitalist market, meaning in the hands of the billionaires, the Wall Street bankers, and the landlords. But these would be guaranteed rights in a socialist constitution. All the big corporations, the 500 biggest companies that produce 2/3 of this country's GDP would be brought under people's control. They would be national.
Pause that.
Wow.
Pause that. First off, these corporations that are responsible for that much of the gross domestic product, as in what this nation produces to generate money for the nation, you want to take that and put it under the control of the people. Who are the people that you're talking about?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Which people?
Yeah. What do you mean by the people? Do you mean like you and your ilk who you can't even manage your webcam properly and you're sweating all over yourself, lady? And I could be wrong, but I believe this woman is a Brahmin, which is the highest class caste in Indian society. Also this system of capitalism and free enterprise and the wonderful rights that we have in this country are the only reason why her family was able to come here and for her to be able to talk this nonsense and not be, arrested or, thrown under a bus or
very true.
assaulted for being a woman speaking out. And you want to just make your own new constitution because some white guys who had slaves back in the day were the ones to write this constitution where, slavery, I won't say everybody had slaves, but anybody who had enough money had slaves for all of human history.
Yeah, and it was
get out of here, commies.
Very low number of actual Americans that had slaves. There were also black slave owners that certainly existed.
The first slave owner in the United States who sued to keep his indentured servant as a slave was a black man.
And there were definitely slaves in America before the white people even came. We'll leave that one aside for now.
We're going to be commie bashing now. So the socialists want to take the means of production and give it to the people. And by the people, they don't mean like, okay, these corporations are already owned by the people. And if they are publicly traded, they're owned by many, 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 many people.
Yes.
And I'm not really into publicly traded companies because I think as soon as you do that, then it becomes like super corrupt and messed up.
Well, a lot of the people that end up trading in those companies but don't work in those companies don't actually understand the history, the know-how, the how-to, and all of that is involved. So they end up making sometimes very bad decisions too, and they try and push companies in awful directions. Like we're seeing it happen with the video game companies right now with Xbox and Sony and Bethesda and all of that.
Yeah,
but I was going to also say there are several Native American tribes that owned slaves before the white man ever came to America, and they fought with the South against the North during our Civil War. And of course, for all of human history, every single cultural grouping had slaves up until the US and the UK outlawed it and really put a heck of a lot of pressure on the rest of the world to start getting rid of it as well. Sadly, you still have a ton of slaves in India and China today.
And you could actually, this might be a stretch, but you could say that capitalism in the West is one of the things that put an end to slavery, particularly after we started developing technologies that made having manual human labor in such amounts moot.
Right. Yeah. Great point. That's true. Yeah. Ingenuity that the free market allowed.
Because this whole idea, it's like, well, we'd still have, black slaves picking cotton. I'm like, well, not since, like, we have very sophisticated harvesting machines in the cotton gin that can get all those terrible little seeds out of the cotton and all that stuff. It's like, it'd just be cheaper to get a tractor that you can just put up in the shed than have to pay for a human life to keep them fed and housed and clothed. And
I used to say a lot of the stuff that these people in this video will be saying, because I drank the Kool-Aid once myself, and I used to believe a lot of this stuff. So I do have some compassion for these people. It is very easy to be lied to nowadays. There are such sophisticated psychological operations ongoing that you have to make sure that you're looking at a lot of different sources, even the ones that you think you vehemently disagree with, in order to get a more rounded perspective on reality. So this is where we're at. Let's go ahead and
more commie bashing.
More commie bashing.
The new socialist government will take possession of all the existing capitalist banks and create one people's development bank. In a socialist government, holding elected office of any legislative body would not be a full-time job. There would be no professional politicians. Government and civil servants will earn the salary of a skilled worker. And lifetime judicial appointments will be dissolved. The Electoral College would be abolished. The popular vote. The
Electoral College is important.
Okay, yeah, and let's just make it popular vote. Okay, so if we can get 51% that says women shouldn't be allowed to be seen outside the house without being completely covered head to toe, you down with that?
Yeah, right. Because this is why we have a constitutional republic. Republicanism, in its essence, protects minority interests.
All she's saying here is like, trust us, bro. We have a plan.
Yeah, and I get your problem with capitalism. It's just your aim is a little bit off. You're looking for crony capitalism. No. You're just looking for greedy assholes that are misusing the free trade market and bending it to their will. And you do see examples of this.
That's what a reasonable person would say. But what she is saying is she wants to take everything, put it under one centralized authority.
They want a socialist government.
Well, and then also not understanding human nature.
That's the problem.
It's like, oh, we'll just have this one centralized thing. It's like, no.
That's why we have
centralized things. It's going to lead to corruption.
That's why we have a how do you call it? A tri-power infrastructure in this country that has checks and balances against itself. We have so many friggin' checks and balances in this country. Many of them were not even taught when we're in elementary school. This is something that I wish we could find more fun ways to teach children about and do a better job at that.
Yeah, but if we waste time teaching them that, we can't teach them, that boys can be girls and girls can be boys, and
you can't indoctrinate them with crazy or gender confusion, which has been used over and over again by Marxists to destroy countries from the inside out. You go after things like gender, you go after things like race, turn
the fundamentals of reality. Yes, people are different. Yes. We look different. Men and women are different. There are stupid people. There are smart people. There are kind people. There are not kind people. But when you try to break down and be like, well, girls can be boys, boys can be girls. It used to be, be colorblind and there's no difference between us except our skin shades, which for the most part, that's true. But now it's like, no, you have to see only that, which is breaking a fundamental reality thing. It's like, well, I'm looking at
the person's skin color first, and then you judge them according to what the stereotypes you believe about that skin color. Just like men thinking that if they take on the stereotypical garb of a woman with makeup and dress, then suddenly they're a woman. Doesn't work that way.
Yeah. It's chauvinism is good now, but we just wrapped it up in a dress,
right?
And, called it good. So back to commie bashing. That's what communism does, is it breaks down reality and it takes over. And then what it does is it keeps beating you with the unreality until you admit to yourself that it's true. It's the struggle session, right?
Yep.
And then you won't question it, because if you question it, somebody might turn you in. And actually, if nobody turns you in, you're going to be looked at suspiciously unless you turn other people in.
Yeah.
And then you start making up lies about your neighbors, which is not real and not true. Another breakdown of reality.
Yeah.
And then you're okay with murdering millions of people.
Yeah. 100%.
Tell me I'm wrong in the chat, folks. Tell me I'm wrong.
Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear your thoughts, for real, because, you know, DJ and I both, we came from this world. We know this world. We know the progressive world.
Yep, I'm just a...
Thank God we woke up together, and brother, we did it independently too.
Oh, yeah.
Give me a fist bump. Because we did. Like, we found each other coming to the same conclusions after I had not talked for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
And man, was I so heartened and consoled when I found out that one of my good friends, who I knew to be an intelligent person, had the same questions I had.
Oh,
and
yeah.
was starting to see the same things I was
during
starting to
the BLM BS, and before I quit anything on Facebook because it was terrible for me, and, you know, I'd say stuff that you'd be just like, you know, are you guys okay with this? You know, there's stuff on fire. Why am I seeing communist symbolatry in the streets? And then everybody's like, no, we need to educate you.
Are there people out there that don't know that the leadership of BLM are self-proclaimed trained Marxists?
Oh, and do people not know that BLM stands for Buy Large Mansions?
Yeah, it just sure seems to.
What is it? Patrice Concolors and her compadre, you know, they bought a bunch of large mansions. They didn't kick anything back. No. And then whenever you see Al Sharpton in the background, no, that's just some, you know, racist hate hoax stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like whenever you see him, you know, he's a coffin chaser.
Man, BLM is a clever slogan that sounds good on the surface, and it sounds like if you were to possibly question it, you're a horrible human being. Yeah. So what a perfect umbrella to hide a bunch of demonic shit underneath.
Oh, and remember when they said that if you say all lives matter, you're a racist? It's just
remember that? Why is that racist again?
No, like life matters, dude.
Yeah, and should Irish people, which in many cases were even
treated
more
even
mistreated
worse.
Than black slaves here, should they be asking for reparations?
Reparations from who? I ain't giving you a single cent.
Yeah,
you can work for it.
Who's giving the reparations too? I mean, it's...
And who are they giving it to?
And then what about the hundreds of thousands of white men that sacrificed themselves to abolish slavery during the Civil War? Do their families have to pay?
I think it was for every 6 slaves that were freed because of the Civil War, 1 white dude had to die. I'd call that reparations if you're asking the white people to pay for stuff.
That's heavy, man.
Yeah,
that's
I don't
real.
like making it about race, but it's just kind of like, yeah, a lot of white people died to be like, let's figure this out if we want to have slavery in our country. And you know what? It wasn't a bunch of communists that brought in the utopia. Well, utopias don't exist. It was hardworking peoples that want to be left alone and do the best they can for themselves and for their neighbors. But unfortunately, the Fabians have won. They have marched slowly through the institutions, long and slowly through the institutions, and have taken over. That's why it's like, don't send your kids to college unless it's like an actual technical institute or something like that. Don't send your kids to college. Pay attention to what your teachers are telling your kids. Be active in chastising self-important people that sit around and make decisions for the school board.
Ah, there you go.
School board. They like to sit on wood on boards. You know, it's a school board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Actually, look at this. I just found this. In the 1860 U.S. Census, this was the peak of slavery in the U.S. and early America. Around 394,000 people were counted as slaveholders. It's a lot of people. Now, there was about 27 to 31 million people in America at this point in time. So that accounts for 1.4% of the free population held slaves in this country.
So are you going to track down who that 1.3% is? And hate to tell you guys, but you might find some dark-skinned people that are going to have to pay reparations too.
Yeah.
And also, back to the commie, the commie of Indian descent. She needs to look back in her history because her family might have very well owned slaves,
especially and not as just a high caste Brahmin. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, who knows, she might be lower than that, and, I may not be cultured enough to look, but I believe she's Brahmin. I'll have to look at her last name to really figure it out, but yeah. She comes to school here in the U.S., gets educated here. Her family realized they had better opportunities here because it is a capitalistic country that doesn't have a fixed caste system, so you can be upwardly mobile.
Oh, yeah,
if you
work
can
actually
hard.
Go as far as you want in this country.
Yeah, instead of
having to work for it.
Instead of having to throw yourself underneath the wheels of the juggernaut with good karma to come back as a higher caste member.
Right.
That's another story.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, let's go back into it. To this,
and I'm going to speed these guys up just a little bit.
To this high class commie. And why is it always like the well off kids that end up being commies? You know?
Good question.
Oh, because they have everything handed to them, and they're like, why can't everybody have this?
Yeah.
It's because sorry, but there isn't enough to go around, and capitalism has actually made the pie bigger, so at least most people can have some.
Yeah.
Whereas before, it was like most people couldn't.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Capitalism brought 2/3 of the world out of dire poverty. It's uplifted the world more than any other system on the planet. It's not perfect, but it's the best thing we've got going.
Yeah.
And it's not inherently racist or white supremacist or patriarchal in any evil or dark way either.
Hey.
But of course, those names are so powerful. And as soon as you apply it to something, people get emotionally charged and then they forget about rationality and logic.
Well, any sex or color can be a communist or a capitalist. So,
truth.
You know, capitalism doesn't discriminate. It just cares about whether you're worth your salt.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. All right, here we are, fam. Let's go.
One person, one vote would be implemented. And mass organizations like unions, tenant organizations, cooperatives, youth groups will be empowered and be given legal recognition.
Oh, like
so using centralism and a widening and grassroots democracy, people who have been neglected and left out will be brought into the decision-making process of the new government.
Who are these people?
More than 80% of the U.S. population lives in urban centers. But urban populations are widely underrepresented in federal and state bodies, and this would change. The House of Representatives could be replaced with the National People's Assembly that would not only be made up of delegates elected from local election districts, but would also include delegates from the many mass organizations of millions of workers, students, and more. And the Senate could be replaced by the Assembly of Oppressed Nations to correct the historic injustices imposed on the indigenous peoples and the Black nation.
They're basically saying they want to overthrow the government. No House, no Senate, no Supreme Court, no president.
Well, and because, you know, as the past, I don't know, what is it, past 7 to 17 years now, the left has shown that they're willing to burn things down, assault people, murder people, poison people, destroy everything to get their way. You know, you got to believe these people when they tell you that this is what they want to do.
Yeah, here, show this on screen. Okay, look, this is the poor under capitalism, right?
Yeah.
That's our lives right now, even if you're lower class, right? No lie. This is everyone equal under communism.
Yep.
But at least he's equal, is what crazy woke Marxists say.
Bernie.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's Bernie. Yet again, who are these people? And when it gets to, she's like, you know, 80-some% of the world's population are urban and they're not represented. It's like, well, if anything, I think they should have less representation because our urban centers are no longer productive zones. They're just consumers. So they don't actually produce anything, right? So what do you have when you have a whole bunch of consumers that are used to the just gimme, 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 gimme? They make really bad decisions. That's why most cities nowadays are just hellholes. Because they're just give, and they're like, but I don't have enough to live. It's like, yeah, because you're in an environment where it's non-productive. You cannot produce. You do not produce anything. We've gotten to the point where, you know, most cities, they're not, you know, like manufacturing hubs.
Nope.
Or, you know, well, even like, you know, cultural production centers of like, you know, art and, you know, beauty and, you know, other stuff like that. No, it's just purgatory where they just consume.
Or if in the case of something like Hollywood, a cultural center, now they just repeat what worked before. Like Spider-Man 18.
And I hate to sound like this, but it's like, look, you know, I personally think that your representation in the government should be directly proportionate to how much you produce. And you can measure that production through quite a few different metrics, but how much you produce versus consume. Because, you know, like,
that makes sense.
Does the child in the family get as much say? Okay, so do the youngest children that are just, you know, all they can do right now is a couple of chores here or there, and all they do is they eat, they have to be taken care of. Do they get as much say as the older children who are out working the farm and helping the family and doing that stuff?
Of course
not. And what happens in the family
or they wouldn't know how to make good decisions
yet. No, they don't, because they're not productive members yet.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to fix things, it's like, how do we go into the cities and actually make cities productive zones? How do we make these urban centers productive zones?
You
and
need
actually
responsible
produce stuff?
people. Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
yes, and then help people actually be responsible.
Yeah.
And this whole idea, like, frankly, I'm down with making it even harder for people to vote. Let's raise the age of voting up to 26. Let's make it that if you ain't got skin in the game, you can't vote. And then I'd go even further to say, if say you don't have,
maybe pass a basic civics test to make sure that you understand how the government operates.
also, if you don't have baseline literacy, you probably shouldn't be able to vote. And they'll be like, oh, that's racist because of the whatever. It's like, not anymore. It's really easy to become literate.
Really
we just choose
easy.
not to, and we choose. Well, our education system is screwed.
1,000 different versions of free online.
But like, if
classes.
if you can't read what's going on, if you can't read what's happening in these bills, if you can't read what's coming out,
how can you be a responsible decision maker?
About that?
Yeah.
You're just going to trust some skeezy guy with a skeezy smile telling you everything's going to be all right if we just tax the millionaires and the billionaires.
Yeah, the millionaires and the billionaires.
Opposed to actually being able to do research yourself and be informed.
Got to be willing to question our own ideas too, man. That's one thing people just don't do anymore.
And also, like,
just automatically assume they're right.
Forgive me, but I would be willing to go as far as say, if you're not born here, you don't get to vote. If you come here and you want to be an American, great. Have kids, then your kids can vote. The same thing goes with being a politician. If you're not born here, I don't care if it's town council level all the way up to president. If you're not born here, you shouldn't be able to become a politician either. Because we have too many cases where
you can't become president, but you can become a congressman.
We have people who are not citizens of this country that come to represent the people in these areas, whether it's Minnesota or New York or anywhere else.
Or like Mom Donnie.
And they honestly say, it's like, oh yeah, no, we're more for our people over here. I'm Somali just like you, and really the Somali are my people. Screw America. And it's just like, yeah.
What? Why? Yeah, why would you do that?
If it was a perfect world, I'm sure there's a lot of people who come here that are like, oh, I'm gung-ho American 100%. That's why I left my home country. I'm American. Cool. But we can't take that risk no more. Like, how many politicians do we have just in Congress that aren't native born and aren't looking out for the Americans?
That's a tough one,
that they're supposed to represent.
Because I can think of some people that are foreign born that are amazing Americans that I would want to be able to vote. But I see your point. I see where you're coming from.
Lily Tang Williams, who ran, I believe, in Texas, ran for I forget which portion of it. She came out of communist China, and she's as anti-commie as you can get.
Yeah.
But I would still be like, no, sorry, have kids, teach your kids good value, and then your kids can go. Just like, oh well, the immigrants of the olden days, they were like, hey, we're gonna hunker down.
Well, we have such an issue.
And we're going to save money for our kids so our kids can become successful. Instead, it's like, no, me.
We have the issue of people creating anchor babies now.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And that's, I think, the best argument against.
How many Chinese nationals that were born here that have automatic citizenship that live in China that they're, just waiting to be sent here to do whatever they're going to do?
God knows, probably tens of thousands at this point.
No, I think
more.
It's actually in the millions.
It could be in the millions.
I could be wrong, but that last stat I saw was they're actually in the millions.
Let's see. How many?
And then there was that hospital in Texas that was busted because they had billboard advertisements of like, we have programs for $5,000. You can come into Texas and have your baby here. And I'm like, that's cheap. Like, I haven't had a kid, but I've got a lot of friends and family that have had kids, and having a baby in the hospital for an American-born citizen is a lot more expensive than $5,000. You mean to tell me you're going to create this special program to get foreigners to come here, have their babies, so their babies have American citizenship, and then they pay less than what American has to pay in the same hospitals to have babies? Are you kidding me? But that's the globalistic communist agenda. It's because you can't...
Wow, we could have 750,000, 1.5 million.
Yeah.
Anchor babies from China alone right now, living in China or elsewhere with U.S. citizenship.
Yeah. But so this is, back to the commie bashing. This is the communist global agenda. They want everything equitable, equal across. Well, I guess they don't think capitalism is good enough of lifting up the poor, but communism isn't any better of lifting up the poor. So if you want to flatten the curve, you have to tear down the rich. And as you tear down the rich, what is rich becomes lower and lower and lower until you're just tearing everybody down and grinding them under the boot while a bunch of oligarchs and autocrats run everything. But she wants to be on top of it, these Democratic Socialists of America, they want to, they're like, well, we're going to, like, I think we're the responsible ones to make these decisions, but they'll say it's the people's decision. They don't listen to us. They don't care. Frankly, they hate most of us and want most of us dead. How are they going to take over these systems? So this is, back to the commie bashing. This is the communist global agenda. They want everything equitable, equal across. Well, I guess they don't think capitalism is good enough of lifting up the poor, but communism isn't any better of lifting up the poor. So if you want to flatten the curve, you have to tear down, the rich.
Yep.
And as you tear down the rich, what is rich becomes lower and lower and lower until you're just tearing everybody down and grinding them under the boot while a bunch of oligarchs and autocrats run everything. But she wants to be on top of it, These Democratic Socialists of America, they want to, they're like, well, we're going to, like, I think we're the responsible ones to make these decisions, but they'll say it's the people's decision. They don't listen to us. They don't care. Frankly, they hate most of us and want most of us dead. How are they going to take over these systems?
Well, here's a good little bit of satire. It's this amazing synopsis. Look at this. In a 1939 American Civil War epic known for its racism. To learn more about Black Lives Matter, search Black Lives Matter.
Okay, so
wait, what?
So a little history about that. The woman who played what was her name, Mammy?
That old G-rated movie.
Well, the black woman who played Mammy, she won awards for that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so racist. Actually, it was kind of it wasn't a documentary, but it was like a dramatic
snub to racists to put her in that film. It's such a prevalent position.
There were a lot of people that had a problem with her getting these awards and didn't want to let her into the awards, but she ended up winning the awards. But that was telling the tale of a time and a place.
Yeah.
And frankly, pretty much everybody got the raw end of the stick in that movie in the end. You should watch it. I'm not going to spoil it for you. Go check out Gone with the Wind. And it actually shows how frivolous and kind of fruity the white aristocracy in the South were, and you're just kind of like, ew, these cousin Marion gross people.
That would be the Dixiecrats.
Be like, oh my dear Lord, you look fat. My cousin, come here and give me a kiss on the cheek. You look so lovely.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, that's kind of gross too. So
the people that fought against civil rights the hardest were the Democrats. The founders of the KKK were the Democrats. The Republican Party was started by Abraham Lincoln to abolish slavery. That was the reason the party even started. The crazy switch that they've done on people is impressive. I'll give them that. It's mind-boggling that people don't know this history.
Well, what happened is the Southerners started voting Republican because they were tired of the Democrats, and the Democrats moved up north or turned into racist Republicans to keep their seats down south.
Yeah.
And then the racist Democrats moved up north and realized that they could start playing this grievance game and keep black people under control.
Oh, yeah.
And, there's probably a reason why the black population hasn't gotten above 13 to 15%.
All you have to do
I think it's intentional, and it's not the racist white people out
demoralize. No, what they did was they demoralized and they corrupted the culture of people.
Sure,
it's everything from BET to the hip hop that went from victory over the streets and self-empowerment and self-education and being a good person. Like that's what early hip hop was, to all the gang stuff, the womanizing, the materialism. And that I think, sadly, that's not black people. There's so many different kinds of black people in the world. Like, why do we associate black culture with only American black culture and only the most
ghetto
perverse
American black culture
version of it,
which is actually a mutation of Southern white cracker culture?
Really is, though. Thomas Sowell, 90-plus-year-old black economist, one of the best economists on the planet, an incredible historian as well, has written on this extensively. He tells us how the ghetto speak began, and it was from actual ghetto, poor Irish and Welsh and English people that moved over here.
And they came down to the South. He actually gave great examples back before they had race cars. You'd have down in the South, these cracker whites, and cracker comes from the term wisecracker, not like saltine.
People don't even know where ebonics comes from.
But what they the funny thing is they'd have their steamboats and they'd be racing each other. And this was an example of the taking risks and being badass that is in ghetto culture and white cracker culture. But they would weld the pressure release valves closed on their steamboats to get more ass, and they were blowing themselves up. But it was like, yeah, I got to be all ass. And the idea of you disrespecting me.
Yes.
That's big in the ghetto culture. It comes from cracker culture from the South.
From white people.
And the thing is blacks and whites in the North didn't want nothing to do with blacks and whites in the South because of that culture.
Yeah.
So
Treating Ebonics as so it's like some kind of cultural prized possession. It's like you don't even know where it came from.
And it's not Ebonics, it's Black English vernacular.
Oh, that's what they call it. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, which
and
comes from
a language.
White cracker culture.
Yeah. that
very loud and boisterous
yeah.
English and Irish people that were mixing and living together with black people
Welsh.
in poor areas of America early on. And then their cultures rubbed off on each other.
Yeah, if you guys want to check it out, I believe the book is called Black Rednecks and White Liberals.
Yeah,
it's a great read. The audiobooks are free online if you don't like doing the reading.
And black people and white people's cultures mixing and intermingling is giving us some really beautiful things. I mean, jazz, soul, rock and roll.
Well,
like alone.
Cultures beautifully mix.
Yes.
There will be a bad mixing and there will be a good mixing.
Yep.
And even beyond the melting pot, if you just have trade partners, and even though, like, say you have two different countries or two completely different cultures, if you start trading with each other, the cultures are going to mix anyway.
Yes.
For the good and for the bad, but it's up to people who actually want to, like, do the best they can and for their kids and for their community to be like, we don't want these parts of that culture, but we'll take this part of that culture.
All of you out there being offended right now because you think all cultures are equal. What we're talking about, the bad stuff in cultures is like female genital mutilation at birth, clitorectomies, things like that. Like women can't get educated or drive cars in Islamic countries. We're talking about that kind of stuff. Do you really think that's a great culture?
Or
do you think that comparatively ours might be a little better?
Yeah, or feeling entitled to everything and handouts for everything, but then and then being like, well, I don't have to work for it because I deserve it.
What are you
those
teaching
kinds
people?
Of cultures, and that's not just an American phenomenon.
Just give them fish instead of teach them to fish.
What do you think leads to communism?
Create independence.
Cultures of young people getting together, be like, well, we deserve this because we're oppressed.
Oppressor versus oppressed. If you're hearing that kind of language, it is Marxist at its root, and all you have to do is look at the old Marxist books and you'll see it. So all of you like falling for wokeism, Black Lives Matter, and all this kind of stuff, man, you guys just got handed something that was like so low resolution and it was portrayed to be good and you fell for it. And you didn't question it. That's the part that really bugs me, is that you started coming after people like us, thinking that we're racist, calling us racist, even attacking people like Charlie Kirk and celebrating the death of people like Charlie Kirk. This is insanity. You guys haven't even checked yourselves
somebody
yet.
Told me
you don't even know
racist.
if you're really right. And I wish people would look. I wish people would look at the other side, as many other sides as they can find, and then get a more rounded perspective on things.
Yeah, and the phrase that irritates the hell out of me is I don't agree with pretty much anything so-and-so said, but like, first off, why do you have to preference it like that? Like, say with Charlie Kirk being killed, you can just say, yeah, that was terrible. Second off, most of the time when people have said that, they haven't really seen anything of what the person that they're saying, well, I don't agree with that, really anything they say.
Or they saw one clip out of context.
You can say, I don't agree with that specifically. Fine.
Maybe you saw several clips out of context, but you never watched a 2-hour video of him talking.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like, how much do we really pay attention to what we consume? And I don't mean like, I'm watching this and I'm feeling this emotional state. No, like, pay attention. Like, what are they talking about? Does it check, does it check as like true? Or is it something that's like, well, I'm going to have to look into that. Do you actually follow up and actually look into that? And if, say, you see anything that's counter to that, do you just say, oh, hell with that, I'm not going to watch it? Or do you go, okay, well, I'll give it a fair shot. Let's see.
Yeah.
I'd venture to say most of the time, most of us don't actually go that far into what, and that's including us, don't go that far into what we're consuming and paying attention to.
Right.
And that's the beauty of capitalism. We have so much information and so much stuff now that we can actually afford not to pay attention.
Yeah.
Because the system actually works well enough for the most part. Most people can just not pay attention, and it keeps going, and it works. And you get
but
your
only
food
if
at
there
your...
is still a certain amount of people paying attention.
Yeah.
And that's the problem is
Yeah.
if those people's numbers diminish too much, then you start having the problems we're having in this country
I would
right
say
now.
it's probably like if you get under 10 to 12% of the population, like,
or you get
stops paying, like, as
10
in,
to
like,
12% of the population that has a really bad idea and they're very certain about it too. They can start turning things in an awful direction, like we saw under BLM and the Summer of Love,
or any of the, you know, Soviet revolutions, or, you know, the Khmer Rouge, or, you know, all of Africa that tried to do communism, and now they're still living in squalor.
Right.
But no, that was the colonists. Well, you know, if you look at it, actually, the quality of life was better when the colonists were there, and then they had their communist revolutions, and then corruption just went rampant.
Yeah, and this whole idea about colonialism, it's not like every native, well, not every native, but Native American tribes were constantly taking over one another. It's like when you're saying that we should give land back to this native tribe or that native tribe, which one?
Yeah, right.
Like
which you're going to give it to one tribe, and the other tribes will be like, well, they
which
took
of
it
the
from
last
us.
15 tribes that own this land are we taking?
No, but they don't believe in ownership. Okay, so we don't have to give anything
But
back.
they did.
Yeah,
But they did have an idea of boundaries and land that they took to be their own, and they fought over it. That's why they fought over it, and they would steal each other's women and rape and have slaves and so forth. Also, just like other human beings around the planet. But we like fantasize the Native Americans because they were amazing people. Some of them were downright horrifying, but some of them are really incredible people too.
Who taught the Americans how to wage guerrilla warfare?
Truth, right?
They didn't get that good at war without by not warring.
Centuries of war is what happened.
And aside even from
the most peaceful tribes were incredible warriors because they knew how to defend themselves.
Well, and aside from even, you know, the diseases that massacred a lot of people in the Americas, their populations were even bigger before those diseases, and they wiped each other out.
Yeah, they sure did.
And also, Native Americans, First Nationers, isn't just Canada and the United States. There's the whole Middle America, you know, the Central America and South America as well. And some of those civilizations, were running out of space for the bones, so they had to build them into walls.
Yeah. Like a flood or a bad storm would come, and they had to sacrifice more, like virgins and
where are you going to get them from? You got to go you got to go take out your neighbor, and you got to massacre them, and, you know, bring them up to your pyramid, and, you know, take them out,
or from your own population, which is what they did a lot of.
And that's the other thing too, is not all. So back to not all cultures are equal. Well, when the Europeans came to the Americas, they didn't even have the wheel. And that's not like, say, like a fault of they're not intelligent enough or not. They just didn't develop in that direction.
Right.
The wheel was revolutionary.
Yeah.
While, you know, like I believe like the fall of the, you know, some of these super big civilizations, we had great cathedrals already built in Europe, right? And, you know, sacrificing virgins to some, you know, corn god is not equal to spreading of the idea of forgiveness and a god sacrificing themselves to you. Sorry, it's just not.
To popularize this notion of unconditional love, even to those who would persecute you, which is an incredible concept. It's just wow.
And what was it? The Aztecs that basically deforested themselves into starvation as well, you know, because they liked the latex and other stuff like that. So they did the same thing that the evil Europeans do. It's like, no, we're humans.
Yeah. Which ideas have the best staying power and produce the most lasting peace and bounty for the most people? And clearly that Christ guy changed the world more radically than anybody on the planet and paved the way for bounty and peace, unlike we would have been able to have otherwise.
And that came
in
that came from desert dwelling cultures.
It sure did.
Not Europe.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So why even...
And you know what capitalism does that communism doesn't do is capitalism lets these ideas battle it out, and whichever one's better works.
That's right.
Communism says, screw it, crush them all.
Yeah. Well, indoctrinate them, lie to them, and crush them. And
All right. Do we have any more from...
Yeah, we have a little bit more here.
And one of the biggest misconceptions about a socialist government is seeing it as a service provider and the people as passive recipients of services. This is false and
Yeah,
wrong.
the house is replaced with something different and larger. She's right there.
The reorganization of society, including the transition of society to green technology and renewable energy, will be carried out by the people themselves.
It's okay that hundreds of millions of people are going to die in the process because the infrastructure is not ready for that at all. And we should be building the infrastructure for that now alongside the current infrastructure so it's ready to go if it could even work. Prove your point first. Create the system that makes the existing obsolete instead of just trying to outlaw the existing system.
And, well, yet again, who are the people themselves?
And who are the people? Yeah, like, who decides who are the oppressed people and who are the deciders?
Capital, end quotations, the
whoever
people
is running this socialist government.
Yeah.
Mass organizations will have a central role in a socialist society. These voluntary-based organizations will be involved in the day-to-day management of the affairs of society. In that sense, the executive power of socialist society is in the hands of the people. We carry out the decisions that we make. Real democracy requires the full participation of the people in making and implementing the decisions. Capitalist democracy is limited to voting at the ballot box every 2 to 4 years for the next representative of the capitalist system. But socialism expands democracy to the participation of millions of workers, youth, all
Which
sectors.
Is retarded. There's a reason we created a republic system here that is constitutionally derived. This makes no sense. She's asking for mob rule.
Well, and also,
like you were the example we made earlier, if 51% of the people think some stupid idea, then that's what goes. Whereas with a minority protective system like a democratic republic, the minority interests are still protected.
Oh, and what's the definition of
So
fascism?
the people with the bad ideas don't just take over.
The definition of fascism by the fascists is democracy par excellence.
Oh, right. Yeah. Mob rule.
Yeah. So
we're not a democracy here. We're a democratic republic. In fact, we're a constitutional republic with democratic voting built into it.
Yeah.
But not everybody here is very well educated on every single different topic. That's why you need representatives that can speak for us, who specialize in doing that very thing.
And also, you can tell that this woman is completely full of crap because she's looking over and reading the pre-written buzzwords.
A bunch of stuff that sounds nice, but that every time people have tried to implement it ends in the deaths of hundreds of millions of people.
In actually running society. And socialist revolutions over the last century took place in countries that had to overcome colonial underdevelopment, or societies that were in the early stages of capitalist development. But today, the U.S. is an advanced capitalist economy, so the material conditions exist already in the U.S. to transition immediately to socialism.
Next, I'm going to introduce our second speaker of the day, which is going to be Natalie. Natalie is a central committee member of the P.S.L. Give a warm welcome to Natalie.
Hi, everyone. It's so great to be with you this evening. I'm
Teachers Union.
So excited to be talking about socialism at this particular moment in our history, and also in the labor movement itself. I'm here in Denver getting ready for the National Education Association Representative Assembly. Socialism experiences an exciting expansion of its popularity, and as we think about what we're fighting for, it's very, very, very important for us to think about how we will win socialism, because we are fighting for a vision of a different society, armed with an analysis of the current one, of the capitalist system, with its contradictions, its inherent exploitation and oppression. And we have a collective commitment.
She's not supporting any of her claims. She's just saying a lot of stuff that sounds good.
It sounds like she's actually talking
preaching to the choir.
about socialism and communism, or the exploitative.
Yeah, right. That's what she should be doing. That she would be correct in.
To replacing it. We cannot be satisfied with a reform status quo. It will require a massive movement for socialism and the adoption of socialist ideas across the country to win a new system, which is why the popularity and increasing is so exciting. But our rich history of struggle also shows that the capitalist system itself will adapt and adopt new methods to survive, and will never concede to fully not be exploitative or oppressive.
Wow.
A revolution is necessary. It is necessary to replace capitalism with a socialist society. And we must build the movements that are necessary in order to do that. And I think those of us who are socialists have an important role to play, like we did in history, in how, in all of the different places that we're in all of our workplaces and our neighborhoods, our schools, wherever we are, that we can contribute to the expansion of the struggle, and that we can play a role.
Can socialism and democracy coexist? What is the difference between revolutionary socialism that the P.S.L. supports and what is frequently called democratic socialism? So I think we started to touch on these questions, but I want to hear from our panelists. What are your thoughts?
So when we say a revolution, what does that actually mean? So revolution is a process that's smashing the old state and it's creating a new state. And, you know, in the history of the U.S., there was...
She just said it. It's creating a new state. They want to destroy the existing system, create a new state.
And not just replace, but
they used to pretend that this wasn't the case. They used to pretend that, no, we just want to make the American system work better. It's just not fair. And we need a little bit more social care for people, blah, blah, blah. They just say nice things, but they would never, we're not Marxists. We're not trying to create a communist system or socialist entirely. So this is democratic socialism. It took me years to recognize, and it's so obvious when you look at it, democratic socialism. Democratic is the adjective in that sentence. It's describing a noun. The noun is socialism. So what it really is a form of socialism first and a democratic form of socialism, make it sound nice second. But democratic socialism is not big democracy with a little bit of socialism. It's big socialism with a little bit of democracy is what they're actually calling for here.
Yeah, but if you say what we don't like, we'll just go ahead and kill you. That's what it means.
Yep. Smash the state.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the history of the U.S., there was the first Reconstruction.
Touch on these questions, but I want to hear from our panelists.
Right here is
what are your thoughts?
So when we say a revolution, what does that actually mean? So revolution is a process that's smashing the old state and it's creating a new state. And
that's stupid. We're trying to push for the Buckminster Fuller route. If you think you have a better idea, why don't you create the new system and let's see if it makes the existing one obsolete and let them compete in the marketplace of ideas instead of just smashing the old infrastructure before you've even built the scaffolding for the new infrastructure that you think is going to work so well, because what you're going to do is cause the deaths of millions and millions of people once again.
Yep.
And, you know, in the history of the U.S., there was the first Reconstruction, you know, happened after the Civil War, which was actually a social revolution because it transformed property relations inside the U.S. It ended slavery. And then comes the second Reconstruction, which is the Civil Rights era, which was a political revolution because it tore down the structures of apartheid, but the economic system still remains in place.
Apartheid.
So we have an unfinished revolutionary process in this country. And so there is a need for a third Reconstruction, which we are arguing has to be a socialist Reconstruction, which will actually have to change property relations and the economic foundations from capitalism to a socialist foundation.
Jesus.
Indifferentiating.
So
there it is.
Well, let's you know, not mince words here. The second Reconstruction, the Civil Rights Movement, was pushed by the commies and the socialists. Now, it had some good things about it, as in we shouldn't care about each other's colors of each other's skin. And yes, black people were being treated badly in a lot of this part of this country.
Absolutely.
But it was taken over by a bunch of communists and it went too far.
Same thing happened with the Occupy movement.
Yeah.
They always latch on to these beneficial systems and then they turn them in their desired direction.
Well, yeah, and the thing is literally the social rights movement that was commies.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King, I hate to say it, was a commie. He may not have started out as one, but definitely ended up.
He did adopt some communist ideals or supported some people that did, and I think that was just because of his lack of education in that area. But he was also the one that coined. He was also the one that coined content of character, not the color of skin. Let's judge by the content of character.
But also,
so he had the right idea, but of course, a lot of these guys got misled by communism at the time.
But I forget the people who actually led him around, and the reason why he ended up going to certain places. They were communist revolutionaries that led him around to these places.
Where he found
and he knew
some
it was
allies,
going on too.
Well, they were probably latching onto him for a reason.
And actually, in all honesty, he probably got taken out because he wised up to the commie bastards.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I would not be surprised.
Just like, you know, Malcolm X wising up to, you know,
the danger of the liberals and the left.
And also radical Islam and commie bastards.
Yes, he sure did, man. Yep.
And I'm not being hateful. Hey, man, you don't have to be a communist.
Oh, you're definitely
if
not
you're going to be
hateful.
a communist, I'm going to call you a commie bastard. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, you're not being hateful. You just brought up Malcolm X and how he called out Marxists too.
Oh yeah,
That's
they
on
took
point.
him out for it too.
That's on point.
So,
yeah, guys.
Yeah,
it's not about the color of your skin. We could care less.
Well, let's finish this out before I get too angry at this
for real,
nonsense.
Man. We're almost done with this.
Democratic socialism from revolutionary socialism, which Satya has done. There is also, I think it's very important for us to recognize the possibility and necessity, so the actuality of having a revolution in the United States.
Saying anything.
And I think that it is, it can be very, very hard for us when we're living in a society that is, so deeply challenged in so many ways. There's so many contradictions, millions and millions of workers voting for someone like Trump, who is, a wealthy Nepo baby.
Why would you want to vote for someone that's bringing all these jobs back home and the infrastructure and the factories back home to this country so it can actually produce things itself again instead of rely off communist nations like China?
Oh, that who actually gives a shit
who
about
has
this country?
appealed to sort of the most baseless and disgusting racism and sexism in our society in order to win over a section of workers to vote against their interests.
How many black people have I seen on YouTube that found out everything about Charlottesville that the media misportrayed, that lied, literally misframed and lied about purposefully to paint Trump as a racist when they found out it's not true?
Oh, and who was funding the Charlottesville stuff and the Tiki Torch mob? Southern Poverty Law Center.
Southern Poverty Law Center. Do you guys know about that one? Oh, we have to do it.
We have to do a segment
on that too. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
because to the tune of millions, they were funding white supremacists, KKK, neo-Nazis in this country just to be able to keep their own charity in existence and their massive income for the people running it.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the NCAA
millionaires
and the Democratic Socialists of America, I wouldn't be surprised if they're not funding this stuff too. So,
absolutely, yeah. Along with Soros.
It can be hard to sort of see through that and think, well, will we ever be able to have a revolution in the United States? And I do think revolutionary socialists, our answer is yes. And that is a differentiation. I have been
actually, you guys are just tools of corporatist globalists.
They're active in my union since I became an educator in 2007. Yeah. I think, I do now serve as an officer of our union and consider myself to be part of a labor movement that has been doing a lot of great work and also needs to do a lot more. And I think that it's on us as socialists and as communists, as revolutionaries, to be deeply involved in what, workers organizing in the workplace. And for us as educators, we're not at the point of production, but we have a political role to play right now in the struggle for democracy, the struggle to defend public education, and to, I think, be part and parcel of those struggles as we seek to build a consciousness that goes beyond the consciousness of the union, the consciousness of our class, and rightly understanding who the bosses are and how they operate in society, but towards socialist consciousness. And
so you can start calling for the death of more people. Is that what you want? Because you guys are so benevolent and loving, caring and kind and peaceful. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Wow. Okay. So.
Yep. These people exist. There's more people than you think. They are the ones teaching your kids. They are the ones that are in charge of your HOAs. They're the ones that are in charge of your teachers' unions and your school boards. Are the ones that are in charge of how water is getting divvied out to the communities.
The one thing I noticed that they're right about is that socialism has grown in popularity in the U.S.
Well, yeah, that's because most people, I hate to say it, are idiots and they don't pay attention, and they're useful idiots.
People are used to relying off of trusted sources of information that they think they've come to find reliable, and that's the trick of BBC and CNN and so forth. Is that they'll do an honest report on an earthquake or something, but then they start spinning everything else politically and socially that they possibly can.
That earthquake happened because the evil white man was sucking too much water out from one area, and it caused, it caused settling, and then that offset the structure of the planet and caused an earthquake, 5,000 miles away. Yeah. Oppressed bullshit.
The thing that these Marxists don't realize is that they are the tools of multinational corporations that are vying for power against national governments like our own. They don't like systems of free people running themselves and systems of self-governance. They want to create their own corporate global hegemony, and they will use Marxists in China and whoever that they possibly can to push that into existence, but none of these people care. It's just like the communists used to say when DJ brought up useful idiots. This is a common Marxist statement. The actual people that started Marxism would say this about Marxists, that they're useful idiots, that they know that they're going to kill them off when they're done using them.
And, you know, to paraphrase Marx too, is the revolutionary, once the revolutionary is won, by its very nature will become right wing and will have to be resisted against. These people will be the first up against the wall when the revolution is over. Yep. And the new regime comes to take over. These people here, I'll let you look at them. These people, these three people right here, you got two women and a very effeminate man. I'm not going to assume he's gay, but he's probably gay. Yeah, they're going to be taken out first after, you know, once the revolution is complete.
Because they're well-meaning, they're just poorly informed people.
Oh, no, I don't think they're well-meaning.
Well, I think he might be the most well-meaning one. But these two, No, they definitely have some hatred in their hearts. They've been taught hatred. They've been taught to justify violence against those with whom they disagree politically. You don't see that as much on the right. It's very tiny on the right. But I see a larger and larger proportion of people on the left excusing and celebrating the violence of people like Charlie Kirk.
You will see it on the right, but everybody else on the right will call them scumbags.
We'll call them like, out for that. Yeah, we don't like that stuff. That's not the way. That's not, and I don't even consider myself right. I'm still an independent, but I recognize that the right actually has a lot of decent points of view. It makes some great points, and actually two truths can be competing at the same time. There can be two competing truths, and that's why America naturally has a left wing and a right wing. Well, but the bird needs both those wings to fly. They work together if they're actually being honest, and we need to get more good faith actors out there instead of subversive, violent extremists.
Yeah, and you know, the like two truths that can be right is, well, capitalism is the greatest economic system that humans have ever come with. That's truth one.
Yep.
That is true. That is factually true. The other thing is, under capitalism, it has allowed, this is a two-prong, allowed corporations to gain too much power over governments and people.
Yes, sadly.
Also, it has made us it has succeeded so much, it has made us too comfortable with having other people make our decisions.
Too complacent. Amen to that, brother. Great point.
Those are two truths that are true at the same time that are in conflict.
Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create
sissies.
Weak men.
Weak men. And weak men create hard times.
And weak men create hard times.
Yeah. So
that's why they're always watching out for that right wing, that whether they be anarchists or some new kind of capitalist, they're always watching out for that as Marxists. And you got to give them credit. They're intelligent, but they are incredibly also sophisticated in the way that they lie to people. And then you get the useful idiots like these guys that end up helping champion and popularize these ideas, not knowing what's going to happen to them very shortly after the regime actually gains power.
Yeah, and with so many examples throughout history of how it just didn't work. And not just didn't work, but was absolutely disastrous.
Yeah. But the term useful idiots, again, comes from Marxists, about Marxists, that they use to push Marxism.
And another, you could also translate it as useful tools.
Yes.
So they're being used as tools.
Yeah. So read The Death of Ivan Ilyich or The Gulag Archipelago, if you can even take something of that size. But start looking into this stuff. Start to study communism, because God knows the school systems aren't teaching us about it. Like, it's just natural that if you see the symbol of that Hitler guy and his ilk.
He was a democratic socialist.
We automatically call that symbol out. We automatically know what that symbol symbolizes. He was a democratic socialist.
Before he got into the Nazi, founded the Nazi movement, he was a democratic socialist.
Yep. That is another form of socialism, the Nazi Party. And but if you see the hammer and the sickle, it doesn't hit you the same way the Nazi symbol does.
Like, no, that means millions and millions dead.
The hammer and the sickle, like that actually caused even more deaths than the swastika symbolizes.
Yeah, you're talking about hundreds of millions, with rounding errors of tens of millions, with the communist stuff.
People fall for it though, man. And they still fall for it. I fell for it for years.
And because it sounds good. And when you're idealistic and you don't think too far, it's like, oh yeah, no, the people will take it over. It'd be voluntary. I won't volunteer for it. Somebody else will. But we'll have a government that works where everybody just volunteers for it. It's like, yeah, humans don't do that. We are incentive-based creatures.
Yeah, develop an allergy to certainty. It's the only thing that stops you from repeatedly stepping into these bad ideas and getting them all over you.
All right.
So that's it, fam. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe if you like what's happening here over on Actuali Podcast. We are trying to make meaning of this world together. Much love, fam. We'll see you on the next one.
Peace.